First story. Feel like my entire life is falling apart after finding out she was cheating on me. 8 months ago, I am 33, found out that my GF, F31, was cheating on me. She had been sleeping with other men behind my back, despite telling me how much she loved me and only had eyes for me. When I found out and confronted her, she at first denied it, but then as I kept pushing, she would slowly come clean with how many guys and how many times. I was angry and torn apart, because I had just changed employment so that I'd get more time to spend with her. And that employment didn't last long because finding all of this out devastated me so much that I couldn't handle the change and quit. Everything I did, the drive that I had, was with the intent of having a future with her, and yet she took advantage of that. The entire time, she would gaslight me into feeling guilty, as if I was cheating on her or doing something wrong, when in reality she was projecting. She would visit me literally a week after sleeping with someone, and she knew if she asked for stuff I'd buy it for her because I loved her, and she had no problem doing that. I feel used. She told me she was sorry and wanted to prove to me that she truly does love me. So she gave me access to her socials and location and promised to get help. Then later on, I found out that before she started sleeping with other men, she had been sexting other men and going on dates, trying to replace me. Basically from the very beginning of our relationship. But I'm still trying to forgive her, telling her to get therapy, which she started doing recently due to issues with getting therapy. She has ADHD and was also recently diagnosed with BPD, which like both of those things can lead to an increase in infidelity. It's been 8 months now and a lot has happened. Because I lost my job, I'm basically self-employed and struggling financially. I'm trying to get my old job back, but I haven't heard anything back yet, and it's been 8 months. Because of family drama, half of my family cut contact with me, so I no longer have a familial support structure anymore. Since the half that's left is of the mindset of just work and don't think about it, or have trouble communicating due to a language barrier. Most of my friends abandoned me also, either directly telling me they don't care or indirectly by just ignoring me when I tried to talk to them. I had a friend living with me, but because of everything going on along with his repeated ignoring established rules he had agreed to before moving in, I asked him to move out and I thought we were okay because he kept telling me he understood. He claims that he went through a similar situation, but when he moved out he left the place a mess and didn't pay the last month's rent or utilities and has basically ghosted me as well. And I'm pretty sure he had been telling my other friends shit about me behind my back, hence why they're hostile or ignoring me. I lost my health care because of losing my employment, so I can't get therapy, which I had just started, and have been in the process of trying to get Medicaid, but was recently rejected. I'm trying to appeal it, but IDK what's going to happen. Recently, she told me that she wants us to be on equal footing. Since I have her socials, she wants mine. She said that I have to learn to trust her. While I understand the whole being equal thing, she abused that in the past because I've always tried to be equal with her and just blindly trust her, even when things felt sketchy. I always trusted her when she said she was with family or friends, but was really with those guys, and I always felt like something was wrong, but I kept telling myself she wouldn't do that. I'm not the one who broke the trust, yet it feels like she expects me to just start trusting her already. She says if I can't do that, then we can't work. I told her fine, I wouldn't have any access to her stuff anymore. But I feel like this is just her using this to regain some sort of control over this entire thing, or as some sign that she don't trust me. I've been having constant anxiety attacks and sometimes it feels like she doesn't care. Sometimes she'll seem really caring, but other times she'll speak so matter-of-fact as if there's nothing she can do. It sometimes feels like she's avoiding responsibility for what she did and how it's affected me, and how I'm struggling on so many levels right now to cope with everything going on. I know she has ADHD and BPD, so yeah, that does affect how she is to some extent. but I've known other people with one or both of those conditions, and when I talked to them about it, they bluntly told me it's no excuse and that she's using it as such. I feel like everything is falling apart. The woman I loved was cheating and I'm trying to forgive her, but I feel like she wants it to be on her terms. I have barely any support system as half my family won't talk to me and people I thought were my friends abandoned me. I'm struggling financially with no news from my old job about being rehired. I can't get therapy because I can't get healthcare. I fucking hate the US healthcare system. I keep having anxiety attacks or panic attacks randomly. I feel like I have nothing left. I don't want her to see this post as she frequents Reddit. IDK if she comes to the sub or not, so I'll probably delete it after a few hours. Second story. 14 years together, 12 years married. I, 41M, am in the beginnings of divorce from my wife, 44F, of 12 years. She told me in May that she wasn't in love with me anymore. That sent me into a mental health spiral that ended up with me in a crisis center for 72 hours for having suicidal and homicidal thoughts, including harming our children. I have a psychiatrist, antidepressants, anti-anxiety meds and a therapist, weekly visits. I am somewhat better, but still have anxiety attacks that I was mistaking for manic episodes. I'm staying with my parents, still trying to find a job, and doing what I can to stay safe and not go into crisis again. It's only been a few weeks since I was in crisis, but it feels like I have been getting both better and worse. I am crying less, and things like pictures and FB memories aren't ripping my heart out. The anxiety attacks are getting worse. I had one last night that stemmed from finding her old phone mixed in with my things. I looked through her text messages and found out that she has been cheating on me off and on with other guys since 2020. The current AP is also her landlord. I have screenshots of all the evidence from the old phone, and emailed my lawyer and left a VM as well. Going to see if we can do discovery and if the affairs are enough to turn things to my favor in the divorce. My therapist also said it sounds like I was abused. Going to see if she would be willing to put it in writing as a professional opinion. My little brother and sister can't stand her, apparently been that way for a while. My best friend has been the same. Apparently she gives overly affectionate hugs which translated to runs her hands up the person she's hugging's back and or putting her hands on their chest. My sister's ex that's in prison now said the same things. I'm only just now hearing about it, of course, because now they're not worried about it messing up my relationship. I have been writing a letter to my ex that I never intend to send. At least not in the raw form of the ongoing first draft. It helps a little with anger. The sadness comes and goes, but it feels like the tide sometimes, like it's going to ebb and then a tsunami will hit me. I live in a state that has medical cannabis, but I am worried about getting a card and then having a job drop me because I have it. I have also been looking into ketamine infusion therapy, but I don't know how much it will cost and how much it will help. I've struggled with depression and suicidal thoughts since I was 10. So it feels more like how I am supposed to feel than happy. Sorry for rambling. I try to be more concise when I write. Thank you for reading. Depressed, getting divorced and found evidence of my wife having at least 3 affairs. Struggling with mental health and suicidal thoughts. Third story. Am I that bad for waiting 6 months to divorce? Throwaway account. I've been lurking here for a while but finally decided to share my story. I, 34M, recently went through something that's left me questioning everything, and I really need some outside perspectives. 6 months ago, my wife, 32F, and I had a huge argument. It wasn't anything out of the ordinary, just the usual stress from work and life piling up. That night, I tried calling her multiple times, but she never picked up. I ended up falling asleep on the couch, worried sick, imagining all sorts of things. The next morning, she came home with tears streaming down her face. She sat me down and confessed she had slept with my best friend. She didn't spare any details when I asked her questions, and her honesty was brutal. She told me he was better, that she felt touched and like a woman again. I had read that people would trickle truth, but she just spit it all out. She said she regretted it not because it wasn't good, but because it wasn't with me, and she hated who she became in that moment. I was so devastated and just immediately asked for a divorce. She broke down, begging me not to end things, swearing to do whatever it took to make things right. In my shock and confusion, I gave in to her seduction. To this day I can't believe I did that right when she came back from him. From that point on, she did everything I asked and more. She put a GPS on her car, downloaded Life 360, carried a voice recorder in her purse, and video called me every hour of the day. She gave me full access to her phone. Every time my ex-best friend or any guy tried to reach out, she blocked them without hesitation after she screenshotted and sent me who it was. She was doing everything right. In couples counseling, she would correct the counselor if they shifted any blame onto me, making it clear it was all her fault. Came to find out she cheated on her husband as well. She promised never to let temptation overcome her again. She kept telling me I was better in bed now, even better than my ex-best friend, but instead of making me feel good, it made me feel awful. I hated myself, so I started working out, getting in shape, and it only made her want more sex and tried to enjoy it, thinking it would make things better. We tried to move forward. She showered me with affection, cooked my favorite meals, planned surprise dates, and left me little love notes around the house. Our friends and family thought we were the perfect couple, that we had overcome the worst and were stronger for it. Her parents and my parents begged me to stay, saying it was just a one-time drunken fuck-up. But I couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal. Every time she kissed me, I wondered if she was thinking about him. Every time we made love, I questioned if she was comparing us. She was. 6 months have passed, and last night she asked if she could go to a party with her friends. She had been so good, video calling me every 30 minutes to show she was with her friends. But in my head, I couldn't shake the feeling that she was still cheating, even though there was no evidence. The final time, as she was video calling to show she was getting in the car, I asked her for a divorce. She rushed home, asking why. I told her I was grateful for her progress but felt she wasn't truly sorry. She just didn't want to lose me. I don't know if that's the truth, but it's what I believe. So here I am, feeling like a monster for wanting to end it after she's worked so hard to fix things. She's been nothing but devoted and sincere in her efforts to make amends. Yet, I can't get over the image of her with my best friend, the pain of her betrayal. Every time I close my eyes, I see them together, and it tears me apart. All I think about is him and her. We were supposed to be only with each other, and she ruined that, and I never processed it and just caved in not even 24 hours later. The only thing I feel wrong about is waiting 6 months to come to this conclusion. I feel so lost and conflicted. I don't know if I'm punishing her or trying to save myself. Maybe this will all blow over and I'll just settle down. But I saw him the other day and it just screwed me. I hate my life. Fourth story. Cheated on spouse. Is this break hopeless? I.F. cheated on my husband a while ago, and we were treading water since then because we struggled finding a good therapist and other life circumstances. Won't go into it now, but my spouse has now finally come around to actually processing my infidelity and our relationship issues, and has asked for a temporary break to be able to fully process his feelings and try to let go of the bulk of his anger against me for my infidelity and other issues we had in the past. Beyond my infidelity, he wants to use this time to think about whether he wants to divorce. The anger and resentment is deep, he says, but he also shows lots of signs of still loving me, liking me, and caring about me. We still say I love you. He even says that he does not want me to feel like I should be forever feeling guilty about what I did and reminds me that I am not a bad person. The break has been on for about a month and a half now, and he saw me for a day last week to help me take care of something. Seeing him was strange. We didn't talk much before that meeting, but it was a good visit. We even had sex. He was somewhat distant, but we hugged, kissed, and he was generally warm towards me, talking about mutual people we know and his friends and family. Since we still have 2 months left for this time apart, I don't want to get my hopes up. We texted after seeing each other and joked around and said well wishes. During the visit, he said he still feels conflicted about our marriage. It's hard dealing with the mixed signals because I know his anger and pain still exist, and I don't want to overlook that for his sake either. He also knows and acknowledges I have done a lot of inner work and have shown remorse and accountability. I generally let him initiate contact first but respond very enthusiastically. Sometimes I don't respond when he texts something that doesn't merit any additional response, but only after we have some conversation. I don't know how enthusiastic I should be when communicating with him, but I mainly want to show him stability, safety, and love. What can I do to respect his need for space but encourage more positive feelings? Is there any hope of reconciliation? We rarely contact each other, but we have some social media together and text if absolutely needed. These past few days have been slightly higher contact because he saw me last week. Fifth story. Do I tell his wife who I am even though she said she doesn't want to know? I had an affair with a co-worker that ended roughly 4 months ago. He's married, I'm not. Only I didn't know that he was still married. He fed me the "we're separated" line. In hindsight is 2020, but I believed him at the time. I became pregnant, so he told her, and they then decided to work through it because, as I figured out later, she was pregnant too. I ended up terminating my pregnancy as the entire ordeal was incredibly traumatic. When he came over to break up with me, his wife asked to speak with me on the phone. She asked basic questions about how long the affair was and about my pregnancy. I apologized profusely, but obviously she didn't want to hear it, which I understand. She told me that she didn't want to know my name, where I work, where I live, or anything about me. She said that she wanted this so that they could fix their marriage without her comparing herself to me. Before they hung up, she told him to block me on everything so that I couldn't contact him. He told me after that when she asked how we met, he said at a coffee shop as a way to suggest we had no other connections. It has been months and the guilt eats at me. I can't leave my job. I have a very niche role that makes switching jobs incredibly difficult. I've looked, but the best opportunity would have taken me 10 hours away from my family. And to make everything worse, he still makes comments here and there that I personally would not be okay with my partner saying to anyone, much less someone he had an affair with. I've threatened to tell her to get him to leave, but he argued that she wouldn't believe me, which is a possibility, I guess. Our roles are very connected, so I interact with him daily for great lengths of time. Basically, I'm not sure if I should tell her or not. She was adamant that she didn't want to know, but I feel like if she knew he saw me every day, that she'd want to know that. Is it better to tell her and hurt her even more but give her the truth? Or to just keep it from her and hope she doesn't find out and lives as happily as she can? She has since had the baby, so is dealing with a new baby, which is meant to be the happiest time of her life. I don't want to take even more from her. I'm torn on what the right thing to do is. Reading back over this, I feel like I sound stupid. I'm literally awake in the middle of the night stressing about this, so my thoughts are coming out like a demented Ferris wheel. Any advice or opinions would be so nice. Thank you so much if you read all of this. Edit update-ish. Thank you everyone who took the time to read and respond. I did get a mix of responses, but mostly, it seems like the larger opinion is to tell her. I just want to clarify, add context. Firstly, we live in a state that requires a separation before divorce. He told me they had tried but were over. He and I spend a lot of time together, meaning most days after work, every weekend, including 2 overnight trips. I met his friends and mom. I really didn't know. I also absolutely do not want him back for any reason. I'm still in major grief over the loss of my pregnancy and the made-up future he had created for me. I realize the weakness of myself in falling so hard and quickly for a complete liar. I've been in therapy ever since the abortion, and my therapist has helped me with grief and my self-esteem since then, and while I'm making huge progress, I know I have a ways to go. Second, I only haven't told her anything until now because I wanted to respect her wishes and healing. But he has dropped information on me since then that obviously causes me to question if she really knows what she's saying, since he's still lying to her. He has told me that she obsesses over his location and who he's talking to because she's terrified he'll reach back out to me. The comments he makes are telling me things like how amazing and wonderful and beautiful he thinks I am. Even the occasional "I still love you" type comments, which I know to not fall for. I respond by saying things like, "Wow, your wife is lucky," in a pathetic attempt at him trying to realize what he's continuing to do to her. With all of that said, I think I've decided to send her an anonymous message asking if she's sure she doesn't want to know because he's still lying to her. I 100% would want to know if I were her, but I don't want to take the choice away from her. I hate that I'm bringing the pain back up for her, but I believe that any person would want to know if their reconciliation was based on a lie. If she doesn't respond or doesn't want to know, I'll have to accept it and move forward knowing it's really her choice. I'll update again if I hear anything. I had an affair with a co-worker who is lying to his wife about who I am. He told her we met randomly at a coffee shop, so presumably wouldn't see me again. I'm not sure if I should reach out and tell her who I am because she said she didn't want to know, but he sees me every day when she thinks I'm blocked.